Susan, and today we're going to talk about how your shoulder girdle and support and the lovely serratus muscle applies to your downward facing dog, your plank, your push-ups, your chaturangas, all of these things in some of your yoga poses. So oftentimes people get into down dog and lose their stability in their shoulder joint, and I see this a lot in planks too. And we're going to start in standing position against a wall. So you'll need a bare wall for this, or a door, something that you can stand in front of and place your hands on. And this is the first place we're going to start. So, anatomy. Let's actually reverse that a little bit and start with some general anatomy. So our shoulder joint is one of our most mobile joints. The ball and socket joint, the glenohumeral joint. Your arm is basically held on by a connection here at the clavicle to your sternum. And then of course you've got, out to there, you've got your humerus and then your glenohumeral joint, where the humerus of your arm goes into the shoulder. And it forms that ball and socket joint along with some stabilization from your scapula and all these lovely muscles. And one of the most underrated muscles that I find that people do not know how to engage, that the traps take over, rotator cuffs, deltoids, even some of the sternocleidomastoid can take over when you're in a plank position. And we lose this lovely muscle right here. It forms a little, almost like a claw around for support, is the serratus. And the serratus, serrated, that's why it's called a serratus, it's got little fingers out along your rib cage that, when flexed, form this lovely support system that we don't often tune into when we're in a push-up position or a plank position or downward facing dog even. And I see this collapse a lot of time in between the shoulder blades. So we're going to learn how to push away from the floor using some of the rhomboids, some of the lats, some of the trapezius. But we're also really going to dial into that serratus today, and in this little workshop section here. So, bare spot on the wall. We're going to stand about arms width apart, or arms width away from the wall. You can have a soft bend in your elbow. You don't want to be leaning into it. And again, our hands are the first cueing. So if your hands are like this, turned in, depending on your wrist, you can have a little turnout, but you want to make an L with your thumb and your pointy finger. And then fan the fingers out. So if you are on the floor, you want to have this fan action. Shoulders, arms underneath the shoulders, about shoulder width. Now, if you do have some shoulder things, it's okay to go a little bit wider, but you don't want to be out here. So you want to be almost directly in front of your shoulders. And just keep your knees soft for this exercise, and don't let your back arch. You don't want to stick that butt out. We want to have just a little tuck for lower back support. Okay, nice long neck, nose facing the wall, and we're just going to press into it. First and foremost, we're going to try to push away from the wall, resisting gravity, like we're trying to lean in, but we're not going to let our body collapse in. So we want to find that push. When we find that push, we enact these muscles, kind of gets the rhomboid going, gets some of the rotator cuff muscles going. We don't have this collapse of the chest. So we push away from the wall, and that's the first step. Now, when you do that, you're going to start feeling a little bit of this serratus engage. Maybe even a little bit of your lats. But I really want you to cue into the serratus. And to do that, you're going to press into the pinky and your ring finger. The next step in this, so you're pushing in there, and those two fingers really cue the serratus. The anatomy chain goes up the arm, and you can get to that with those two fingers in particular. So we're going to push into that. Push, 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 push. The next step to to engage that is to imagine that you're trying to drag wallpaper down. Imagine that you have wallpaper here, and you're trying to pull the wallpaper off. So press into the wall, find that almost a rounded of the back, and like we're wrapping our arms around our armpits. And then we're going to pull down, like we're trying to pull off paint, and then really push into the pinky and the ring finger. And when you do that, you should feel this engagement right here, this wrapped muscle. And imagine if, I wish I could put my hands back there, but it's almost like that. So these fingers come out and find the support for that scapula. You can see when I engage it and press, this engagement of that muscle. You can see how my elbow moves back and my shoulder moves back into place. So when you can find that and feel those muscles kind of warming up and burning, not burning, but they're hot. They get warm. You can feel them working. When you can do that on the wall and really feel that support, none of this lifting up and try to pull down. You want to have the shoulders away from the ears and this pull down. And when you do that, you get this wrapping of the serratus around. Now, if you can find it on the wall, you can find it on the floor. Okay, so we're going to transfer that down to the floor. So here we are on the floor. Wrist, elbow, and shoulders are stacked. Pressing to the tops of the feet. If you need stability, you can tuck your toes for right now. Again, we're not going to lose that back. We're going to keep our pelvis slightly tucked to draw the navel up to the spine. Find that L shape with your thumb and finger. And it doesn't have to be perfect L. I'm talking, you know, L. Fan the fingers out and just let yourself kind of hang. Like, we're not letting it hang from the lower back, but let yourself hang in between your shoulder blades. Just let that that body hang, chested down towards the floor. And I want you to push away from the floor. And notice when you push away from the floor, your elbows get this rotation. They almost rotate so they're pointing back towards your thighs. You want to have that. So if they're out here, you want to draw them back. And just by doing that, you're going to find that resistance away from the floor. Now, if you are hypermobile and your elbows bend out, you're going to want to not go all the way back. My elbows don't do that, but if your elbows kind of point forward when you go like this, you're going to want to actually take a little bit of a rotation of your wrists in your hands and not let your elbows over rotate and go forward. You're going to actually keep them out a little bit to the side just to protect those joints. So if you're not hypermobile though, you're going to draw those elbows towards your thighs, and then we're going to push away from the floor, resisting gravity. When we do that, our shoulders don't come up to our ears. They lean back away. Abs are strong, press into the tops of the feet, and then imagine that you're trying to pull your hands back towards your knees. This becomes a very strong support here. But if you can, press into that pinky and to that ring finger just a little bit more as you're pulling back. You can almost see it when I do that, just how much more I get, the lift I get from the resistance there. That is all that serratus going, boing, hello, we're popping, we're holding. So if you can find that here and find that resisting gravity, spread palms, pulling the wallpaper off the wall, pressing into the pinky and ring finger, you can step it back into a plank. And find that again. Elbows face towards your feet, nice long neck, abs engaged. You can keep your knees soft, push away. From here, we inhale and exhale into downward dog. Now, find that again. Can you find the balance? It's not just all in your wrists, and that's what happens. And yes, there are people that have carpal tunnel and have wrist injuries that it hurts to do that. But if you can find the balance, putting a little bit more weight into the back feet, and then push away from the floor, elbows turn towards the thighs, let your neck relax, and then find that push, that resistance of gravity, and press into that pinky and that ring finger, you're going to get that lift and support from that shoulder joint. If you're here and collapsed, trying to find downward facing dog, you're going to really struggle and put more weight on your wrist and into those wrist joints. And it's going to end up hurting a lot more. So if you can find that support through here, because if you're all here and you don't have anything holding you up, your your shoulder is going to kind of collapse in and not be supported. So if you can find that lift and engagement, and you can almost see just from me doing that how much stronger that joint gets. So again, find it here, all fours, slide the wallpaper down, press into the pinky, press into the ring finger, nice long neck, engage the abs, tilt the pelvis, press into the feet, or step back into plank. Don't let that resistance fall, elbows face towards your feet. And then inhale, exhale the downward facing dog, not losing that connection of the pinky and the ring finger. Same thing goes going forward. So that whole motion back and forth. This will help keep you strong all the way down and up. So you can find a little ease in that shoulder joint and a little more support.